This is The Baseline, discussing the hot button topics of the NBA.
Welcome, everybody. You're tuned to The Baseline. Callie Warren Shaw discussing the hot button topics of the NBA. Dubs get drubbed in the land. And we have another game to play in the NBA Finals. The Golden State Warriors get blitzkrieged by the Cleveland Cavaliers, 137-116. 49-point first quarter kind of gives you an indication that the Cavaliers were out to play. They had their game faces on, and they played it wire to wire. So we got a lot to discuss. The Warriors might have a lot to discuss themselves. And if you're a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, you're like, woo, at least we didn't get swept. Woo, our team showed up to play. So let's get all right into the juxta this. You know, I'm rolling out the red carpet to my right-hand man, 50 grand, NBA aficionado, my brother from another mother, www.shawsports.net. My man, Warren Shaw, repping out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Holla back at me, Mr. Shaw. Did you catch any JR tweets yet? What's up?
Cavs in 7, baby. I'm going to go ahead and delete mine right quick. I mean, yeah. Nothing out as of yet. As you know, he said he was hacked after that last, faux pas.
Hey, well. And also, Kardashian alert. Yo, Khloe Kardashian was just like, I got your curse. I got your curse. She's like, I'm coming out to the Cavaliers game, and I'm going to wear me a Cleveland Cavaliers jersey of my man, Tristan Thompson. Right?
Go ahead,
she's like, F a Drake curse. She's like, F a Kardashian curse. We winning in the land tonight. So the real winner for the Cleveland Cavaliers was Khloe Kardashian. She came up clutch for the Cavaliers tonight, brother.
No doubt. Hey, and don't forget, shout out D Wade with his R&B rapper outfit, looking like Gucci Man / MC Hammer. But everyone's saying he's going to drop the hottest album of 2017.
Right? Woo!
got the auburn hair going with whatever he did to it at the top. I can't even tell. Yeah, man, but this game was full of surprises, not only from the crowd, but obviously with the performance of the Cleveland Cavaliers. 53% from the three-point line, and 49 points in the first quarter, NBA Finals record for points in the quarter, and then also points in the half. Again, this is what needed to happen. And the one thing that I said and was very shocked about this in general was somehow we were both right to some degree, right? Mm-hmm. The Cavaliers shot more threes, made more threes by a long shot. They were able to somehow they were still able to continue and keep their same pace, but they did play a more physical brand of basketball, which really Steve Kerr came out outright in the presser and said, like, listen, they were more physical than us. They punched us in the mouth from the very beginning, and they knew what they wanted to do, and they set a tone. And that's how, again, they never, ever, ever trailed in this game. Golden State never got a lead.
Shaw, it's interesting how you brought this up, because I want to bring this up now. I want to play devil's advocate. I want to get this out of the way, because I don't want this to bleed into, our pure analysis of the guys that were out there putting in that work to help the Cavaliers, get this victory tonight. But I will say this, I don't like to be that dude, because and how I'm saying this is the referees did not give the Cavaliers this basketball game, but the refereeing tonight, best terminology I come with is skittish, man. If you want these guys to be physical, let them be physical. If you want to call this tight because, now it's borderlining, these guys, getting away with dirty plays and things of that nature, then be consistent with it. But when I see an exorbitant amount of free throw attempts from one team, and I'm seeing calls that really equally should be made on the other side of it not being done, it makes me start wondering about what are your motives in how you're calling this game. And again, it'll be very interesting to see how these referees carry the way that they called this game into Game 5, because this narrative always seems to play itself out when a team has their back against the wall, usually an opposing head coach says something or a superstar player says something. There was nothing that was being said that made me have to question how these calls are being made tonight. But I got to tell you, when I see the Cavaliers on the free throw line about 17 times in the first quarter, that's a problem. because it wasn't like the Warriors were not playing the same kind of defense that they were playing the first 3 games in this series. So, and then just even to add insult to injury, they couldn't even assess technical fouls properly, and that just slows the game down. And these are 2 elite teams that deserve the pace of play that they're trying to initiate upon each other. These are 2 teams that really know how to play each other and how to do what they need to do with each other. So you're either going to call it or you're not going to call it. But it cannot be as lopsided and as egregious as some of the ways they were calling some of the, whistles that they were blowing tonight, man. Like, it just really took away from your ability to appreciate and watch the game being played. And again, I'm not taking this away from the Cavaliers winning. They took the Warriors to the tool shed and they spanked that ass. But still, I got to call out the refereeing tonight, man, because it was atrocious tonight.
Yeah, they were bad. I don't think there's any 2 ways about that. Draymond's mom even just tweeted out the refs were officially paid. So now we have our next, post-game controversy.
And all due respect to, I know that's Dre's mom and stuff like that, but honestly, we don't need none of that. I respect the fact that she's, looking after her boy and everything like that. But Draymond has got it. We're going to talk about Draymond, but Draymond's got his own issues to really deal with, because I don't care what people say. I don't care what the stat sheets are showing me. Draymond Green has been playing an atrocious NBA Finals. And for somebody who really cost his team the best opportunity to win the finals last year, you would think that he would have a much level head on his shoulders on how he's approaching this game in this series and what he needs to do to really help his team. And he's just not been doing it consistently. So I don't want to hear Draymond's mom getting on Twitter or any social media feed talking about the referees, because Draymond did not help his cause tonight. He really was that bad tonight that attributed to why the Cavaliers even blew them out of the water in the first quarter.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate because, like you said, 22 free throws for the Cavaliers in the first quarter. They only made 14 of them, as I said. The Warriors were 10 of 11 in the first quarter. So that is really kind of what set the pace and tone for the game. But deeper dive into the numbers, and it goes to show that 27 fouls were called on the Warriors, 24 were called on Cleveland. At the same time, the Warriors ended up with 36 free throw attempts to the Cavaliers 31. So it ended up going in the Warriors' favor in terms of actual free throw attempts, but the pace had already been set, and a lot of that has to do with Cleveland and their physicality.
Okay, and to your point, Shaw, I agree with that sentiment, sort of. The problem is that, you know what? Throughout the course of that first quarter, I think there were at least 7 different players with at least 1 foul from the Golden State Warriors roster. At least 7 different players, right? So that includes the starting 5 and whoever Kerr was bringing off the bench. There had to have been, I think, 1 or 2 that had at least 2 fouls before we even got into the second quarter. Now, again, I'm not saying that if they go out there and they get slap happy that you shouldn't be calling it. What I am saying is you have to make sure that you're calling it both ways. Don't tell me that the Cleveland Cavaliers weren't elbowing, weren't grabbing and holding, weren't, some of these calls were almost like, Shumpert hooking Curry. Curry's getting called for the foul. Like, let him play, right? Like, it would be one thing if he's knocking him on his behind, but it's completely different when it's those questionable, like, they're both doing it to each other. So what does it matter at this point to have to call the foul, especially if it's away from the basketball? And that's what I'm saying. Like, some of the calls were over the top. Like, they just didn't even need to be done. It wasn't even a question of chippiness as much as it was just them establishing or putting their chest out there saying, we're not going to let all of this nonsense going on and stuff like that. And I don't want to get it over the line about me saying they're favoring the Cavaliers because they want this to go to another game and this is about NBA ratings. I'm just saying that what this tells me is that they don't have a feel for how they really want to call this basketball game, which is what it was. It was an elimination basketball game. So I understand the circumstances. I'm just saying I don't like the tone that they set from the beginning, and then you want to make it up on the back end, because to me it doesn't matter. The way that the game is being played and being coached now changes when half of your roster is already sitting with crooked letter numbers in foul trouble.
True, but I mean, it's to the victors go the spoils, and I think that's
I agree with you.
Adage, when you are more physical and you are putting pressure on the referees to get you to the line, that's just kind of what ended up happening. Cleveland came out with a certain mindset, and the fact that the threes were falling a little bit earlier, it opened up, the ability for LeBron to get into the lane and even Tristan to go in there and be physical. Kevin Love was even down there in the paint as, I was like, oh, I was surprised to even see him down there a little bit, and he had some effectiveness as well too. So in that regard, I don't think this was a very, very well officiated game, and a lot of people don't like Mark Davis as referee in general with him. And then had a rookie guy or a referee that was his first time in the finals as well too. I remember watching that specifically when KD and LeBron were kind of jawing at each other, and it was intense. And I'm sure they weren't exchanging pleasantries or whatever. And the ref kind of stepped in and he was like, "All right, guys, that's enough." Like real low key. But then it's almost like he became a fan in that moment. Then and they kept jawing because they went at it for a good 15, 20 seconds before anything even really happened. Again, there was no fight or anything imminent, but even that you wanted to just kind of break up, and the referees just didn't have control of this game, and from the very outset, as you alluded to, and that was a shame.
You're tuned to The Baseline. Callie, Warren Shaw discussing the hot button topics of the NBA. Game 4 of the NBA Finals. The Cleveland Cavaliers destroy the Golden State Warriors on their home court to push this now to a Game 5 back at the Oracle, 137-116. So let's go ahead and let's break this thing down the way that it needs to be done, Shaw. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, elimination game, they had to throw all their cards on the table. We said, what was the desperation meter looking like for Tyronn Lue? He basically have to throw any and everything out at the Golden State Warriors to give themselves a chance, when maybe really all along it just came down to LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, and J.R. Smith just wanting it more. I mean, Tristan Thompson, he set the tone. He's not going to end up with the most points, by the end of the night, but he was up there, 10 rebounds tonight, right? 5 points, but established his presence in the paint, actually played solid defense, for however you want to look at it when you talk about two of the highest scoring offenses in the NBA period. But Tristan Thompson made himself relevant in this game. J.R. Smith, 15 points, 5 of 10 from shooting, made himself relevant in this game. And my God, Kevin Love, 23 points in 29 minutes of play, 7 for 14. But his points mattered. He helped extend the lead when the Warriors wanted to make runs. Like, they looked for Kevin Love, and even though it didn't matter in the third and the fourth quarters, because by that point they were still holding a double-digit lead, Kevin Love's points mattered in this game. And that's something that you want if you're LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, all of your role players coming in and putting in that work where it matters when you look at everything on the box score.
49 points in the first quarter, right? We said that a little bit earlier. But it was the difference in terms of LeBron making sure all his guys got involved, and Kevin Love specifically got off to a hot start. 14 points in the first quarter. It was 4 of 6 from the floor, 3 of 4 from the 3-point line, and perfect at the free throw line at 3 of 3. So LeBron took his time. They had 49 points. LeBron only had 8 of those 49 in the first quarter.
Exactly, which told you
that was huge for them to just kind of.
And it meant that and LeBron he ended with 41 minutes of play in this game. But it's 41 max minutes, meaning he came in the fourth quarter and he had something whenever the Warriors started to make some kind of a push. I think they got it as far as, I think, 12 points before they had, they brought LeBron back in there because, every time LeBron goes out, Van Gundy and Mark Jackson and Breen, they're like, oh boy, we'll see how long they can hold this league. I don't think they can leave LeBron sitting on that bench, sitting on the sideline for too long. And sure enough, Warriors going on a mini run. Tyronn Lue is like, I got to put you back in, but he's putting back in a LeBron James that felt more fresh to help end this basketball game the way it needed to for the Cavaliers.
Right, yeah, because he had the contributions from everybody else, and because Kyrie was just so electric overall, with his 40 points and super efficient shooting, 15 of 27 from the floor. And he hit the 3-ball tonight, 7 of 12 from the 3-point line. So that's what happens when, again, everybody's kind of touching the ball, getting involved. 14 in the first quarter for Love, finished with 23, as you alluded to. JR, his complimentary 15 again and made his three-ball shot as well. Richard Jefferson did well in the minutes that he played offensively and defensively. He was a little shook at times and could have took a couple more shots than he did. But nevertheless, same thing with Tristan though. Tristan was like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to try to here and force these things. I'm going to try to rebound. Everybody just played their role in an elite level way that they needed to And that's why the Cavs got the win. But it just goes to show you what we said. You needed to play near perfect basketball, and then you need to get some help from Golden State. And, obviously we'll get to that. Steph did not have a stellar game. Clay didn't have a stellar game. It was really just kind of KD who was really carrying the load offensively. And that to me is, all right, well, if that's going to happen, then you always have a chance to kind of get back into it with them. But Cleveland just played out of their absolute minds tonight. And now they have to do it. So if they can do it 3 more times, with 2 of those potential 3 being at Oracle. Sorry.
All right. So let's go ahead. Well, first I want to touch a little bit more about Kyrie Irving's play tonight, and then let's talk about the Golden State Warriors. Kyrie Irving's 40 point. Like, listen, the last 2 games, it's kind of interesting. I love my cousin, man. We talked about it before we recorded our podcast. Well, my cousin, he's an interesting person. He asked me a question earlier tonight. He said, "Who do you think's the MVP?" And I said, Durant. And I said, if Durant and Steph, do what they're doing again tonight, I think you can make an argument that he could be co-MVP. And he's like, "What? You mean you wouldn't give it to LeBron? You wouldn't give it to her?" I said, "You can't give an MVP to a losing team." he's like, "Oh, but you get." He's like, "Come on, man." Yeah. I was like, "Dude, you cannot give the MVP to a losing team. There's a reason why he's called the MVP." I was like, "You want to ask me who's the best in the series?" I was like, "I'll tell you who's the best in the series right now: Durant, LeBron, Steph, then Irving." That was leading into game 4. Okay. And this performance by Kyrie Irving, I can say it without any hesitance. I have Irving now elevated past Steph Curry because of what Irving's been doing the last 2 games. Now, this could easily change, right? You could look at the numbers holistically and say, "Oh, Steph Curry's still dropping like 20 something. And, he had 10 assists tonight." But just bad. I mean, he just wasn't good. He wasn't good. He couldn't hit anything. Really didn't play. Listen, you allow a team to score 137 points. You're a part of that defense. Didn't do much defensively. Okay. So when I see what Kyrie Irving is doing under these circumstances, the way he's finishing, and the fact that he is a primal scorer and wants the basketball next to arguably the best person in the game right now in LeBron James, I got to push him ahead of Steph Curry. This 40-point performance meant what to you, Shaw?
Well, I mean, it solidified who he is, as a primetime performer in the NBA Finals. And when their season is on the line, that he can be clutch and can be a go-to guy, carry his load and then some, carry the load of some other guys too that may not have been contributing. It's very interesting to see how he struggled for 2 years in a row, in essence, for the first 2 games. And then, when he gets back home, that has kind of seemed to have gotten his mojo going. But it's great to see, a player of his caliber stepping up to the plate. And then on the flip side, you wonder, all right, well, what happened to Steph tonight? So nevertheless, we've talked about it kind of at length over the course of the series, that Kyrie seems to want to go and prove himself to be as good, if not better than Steph. And there are some who believe that at least on this stage that Kyrie is better than Steph on this stage specifically. But to go out there and the way he did it tonight, shooting so efficiently, left-hand floaters off the glass, driving by his man, knocking down threes. And of course, you always like to see a little bit more playmaking, but that's not who he is. That's just not what he's never going to be, an 8, 10, 12 assist guy. He's going to get his 4 or 5 and call it a night. But especially when you're that efficient from the floor, it's one thing if he got 40 and, he shot, 38 shots or whatever the case be, 15 of 27, like I said, and 7 of 12 from the 3-point line. Great night from Kyrie Irving. Nothing can be taken away from him.
Definitely. And in my apologies, I think what I had said to my cousin, I said, I think I even had Clay ahead of Kyrie Irving. And I think part of that reason is because Klay Thompson has been playing excellent defense on Kyrie Irving. Even though Kyrie Irving has been putting up the numbers, he has had to earn his points. Tonight, not only did he earn his points, but he really earned his stripes because he figured out something in the way that he is now easily getting himself to the basket. And I think the more that he begins to drive, now the easier it is for him to shoot that 3 ball. And I have no problem with Kyrie Irving shooting the 3 ball when that 3 ball is available to him because he makes it easier upon himself. But when he does what he did in game 3, where he tries to shoot that step back 3-point shot after he already had his man broken down to drive to the basket, that's when I start questioning Kyrie Irving. But Kyrie Irving tonight was playing within the flow of his ISO basketball, and he just made great decisions, and he made shots like he loves to do. He's one of the great closers in this game. So I completely applaud Kyrie Irving for the performance. Couple that with another triple-double by LeBron James, and they did exactly what they needed to do, put in that work. Now, let's go ahead and get.
But hold on a second.
Sorry,
I'm just saying, like, how great is LeBron? Where we're just kind of in passing. Yeah, well, LeBron had another triple double.
Yeah, I mean, he has the most triple doubles in NBA Finals history, right? What, like 9 over Magic Johnson? I feel like it's a whole Hummer, right?
I mean, that's just absurd to me, though. You know what I mean? He's out here 31, 11, and 10. Got a steal out there as well, too. Still shot efficiently 11 of 22 from the floor, 3 of 8 from the three-point line. Obviously the free throws weren't stellar, 60% at 6 of 10, but nevertheless, I mean, we'll just glaze over that. Let's go ahead and talk about the Warriors.
Well,
that's funny.
I will say this much, Shaw. I will say this much. I really was impressed by LeBron James shooting tonight. I don't know if people were paying attention to it, but he would get the open 3 ball and he didn't hesitate. He just take the shot. I think there was even one point where he even took a 3, like as a heat check 3. And I have no problem with that. When you're feeling it and you're a part of a team that basically drops 24 threes in the course of a night, you are entitled to throw up some heat checks. You know what I'm saying? You are entitled to do that. I was just really impressed with LeBron James shooting the 3. Like he only made 3 of them, but there was just more confidence in him shooting the basketball. And that's what you want. You want the confidence, because at any given moment, there is going to have to be a LeBron James that scores you 45. I just don't want that LeBron James to get that 45 with hesitance. And so tonight, I was just really impressed with the way that he just shot the ball with confidence. He wasn't Kevin Love hitting it 6 of 8, or like Kyrie 3 of 4, but he just shot the ball with confidence and, in audacity. Hey, the Warriors were willing to leave guys open on the 3-point line, which, basically allowed 24 threes to drop. With that being said, let's talk about that defense, that stellar defense by the Golden State Warriors, right? What in the hell was that, bro? I don't know. Like, this is one of the elite defenses, in the NBA and stuff like that. But man, I thought I was watching the Houston Rockets play defense tonight, man. I just swear, I don't know what this was. This clearly was not Golden State Warrior defense by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, it was tough to watch, I think, from their standpoint, and Steve Kerr said as much as well, too. Yeah, we've got to get some stops, but a lot of it, you do have to credit Cleveland. They were lights out. They really were, and I don't think Golden State's defense was superiorly porous. Like, it was, just atrocious.
You're being nice.
I just don't. I mean, I see 49 points, and I understand. I understand why. Again, it's obvious why that's an issue to me. But Cleveland hit shots, and Clay, usually hold on. Okay. Clay usually was very good at sticking with Kyrie, wasn't able to do that tonight.
Okay, but Shaw, let me ask you a question.
Hold on. The Clay look, he's usually attached, and there was just Kyrie had those moves, he wasn't able to give that same vigor, and the popping off and the switching just wasn't as effective. They kept getting Curry caught up in some of those one-on-ones where Curry had been playing decent defense. When he got in those isolations, it just seemed to be where it wore too much on them, and a lot of that probably was the physicality of the game that Cleveland was imposing. So that's kind of why I think Golden State's defense took a notch down. And obviously, again, you can't give up 137 points to say you had a good defensive effort, but a lot of it has to be credited to the Cleveland Cavaliers shooting.
Okay, Shaw, I concede on that point. No arguments for me on that part. Okay. But dude, 24 threes. Like, I'm not saying that the Golden State Warriors just, if we win, we win, we lose. They were in the game, throughout. And it was really a question of runs. Can the Warriors muster up one of those runs like they did against the San Antonio Spurs and, in the first game of the Western Conference Finals? To do that, they had to give themselves an opportunity, right? They had to figure out a way to turn the ball over. Or damn, man, close out on these 3-point shots. Like, I guess maybe that's what's really irking me about how porous the defense is, because while Golden State is one of the best shooting teams in the NBA, people really do not give them credit for the way that they defend teams shooting the three. And tonight was just an indictment on just, look, man, Darren Williams making 3-point shots, bro. Like, seriously. I get it. Kevin Love, 6 of 8. You know what I'm saying?
Wouldn't you leave Darren Williams open, though, coming into this game? So it's like, shoot it. I mean, he made one.
I understand, but I'm just saying that, like, I just feel like whatever their intent was or whatever they were trying to do from a help defense perspective, the closeouts just didn't seem to be there. I don't know if it's because they just didn't have the legs. I don't know what it was, Shaw. It just didn't look crisp to me. It just didn't look like Warriors defense to me. If the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to make 24 threes, and look, there was, like I said, it just, there wasn't a shot they didn't throw up in there that just didn't go in the hoop, bro. I understand that. But some of these shots, man, I mean, it's just like they had all day to shoot the ball. All day.
Well, and you also have to give Lou some credit, when it comes to some of the schemes they ran. So let me just get this out real quick here. I think Kyrie hit some threes. He hit like at least 3 that were well behind the line. So I was like, all right, you're going to shoot that? All right, cool. You know what I mean? You almost can see that.
J.R. Smith from half court, yeah.
People were in the vicinity of some of those Kyrie ones, but he hit it. So it's like, bet, no problem. But Cleveland's cutting, and this is what I'm saying. I'm trying to – I really think you have to give Cleveland a lot more credit than just saying Golden State didn't play good defense. Their cutting was extraordinary, and their runs to the rim and their runs to the double screens and the stagger screens down on the block, where Kyrie would start at the top of the key on the left side, run underneath the basket. Tristan and Kevin Love are setting a double screen underneath the basket. He pops up, and all those guys are sealed, and no one is able to get to the wing in time to stop Kyrie from shooting his 3. And same thing with JR. They just ran so the intensity. They were all like Ray Allen out there when it's kind of cutting to the basket and cut into the arc. And there was just an extra pep in their step because, hey, their season was on the line in this one. So to me, a lot of some of the play calling and the way that Cleveland, the intensity in which they ran their plays, led to some of those open looks. And Golden State was like, oh, shit, you haven't cut like this before. And that's on them to not be prepared, because they should be ready to close out, knowing that a team on their home floor doesn't want to get embarrassed and be swept out of the playoffs. So I give, that's definitely an indictment on Golden State with their defensive effort when it comes to that. But Cleveland they just tried harder offensively. They tried hard in every aspect of the game. And that to me is something that, again, you don't know if they can do it 3 more times, but it really was a matter of pride for them tonight when it came down to not wanting it to get beat down in Quicken Loans in Cleveland, man.
You're tuned to The Baseline. Callie, Warren Shaw discussing the hot button topics of the NBA. The Golden State Warriors get shellacked by the Cleveland Cavaliers in a potential, in an elimination game. Warriors up 3-0 in this series. Cavaliers hold down home court and force a Game 5 back at the Oracle. All right, so Shaw, let's just go ahead and run through some of these dudes real quick. I just want to get your, Kevin Durant, another solid performance. He didn't shoot that well, 9 of 22, but still 35 points. 15 of 16 from the free throw line, which is a good sign, because I think if there's one thing that the Golden State Warriors have to be cognizant of is they need to give their opportunities to get to the free throw line. We've seen a lot of cold spell shooting at times from the Golden State Warriors, and what helps them the most is when they put themselves on the free throw line. When they do that, they usually follow themselves up with significant runs where they shoot the lights out. And that always bodes well if you're the Golden State Warriors when you've got your key guys getting to the free throw line.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a staple for them when they're able to put pressure on the defense in that manner because of their ball movement and screens, and make sure they're just, expert passing. But they didn't get a lot of that tonight, unfortunately. I mean, they still ended up with 26 assists, which obviously isn't bad in any way, shape, or form, but they just didn't shoot the ball well in general. And like you said, KD, 9 of 22, wasn't really good. And the thing that stands out to me a little bit in this game too, and it kind of even goes back to, again, just credit Cleveland for how well they played. It wasn't a overly sloppy game. It was a physical game, but only 12 turnovers for the Warriors, which is usually one of their Achilles heels, and only 11 turnovers for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So
Right. It's
in
like,
that regard, you're like, wow,
yeah, they
that's
did
kind
their
of
worst
shocking.
in the first 2 quarters. To be honest with you, of turning that ball over. I think after the at halftime, they may have only turned the ball over maybe 2-3 times at the most. So they got blitzed. Clearly, the Cavaliers turned the Warriors over a few times to help them get that 49 points. And you double up with a 37-point performance if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you are definitely giving yourself an opportunity to walk away with a victory against the Golden State Warriors. Because while the Warriors are the type of team that they can come back from anything, when the game does tend to slow itself down, it means that the Warriors are dictating the pace again, because it means that they're getting stops on you. So the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers found themselves, in the 40s and the 30s scoring wise, definitely gave themselves a chance to buckle down and actually play some type of substantiated defense that can give themselves an opportunity to win this game.
Right. Well, I don't know what's going to happen when it comes to Game 5, and beyond if the series were to continue to go. But I would not expect Golden State to play as poorly on either side again, especially on their home floor. And you just have to wonder, okay, Golden State at their very best and Cleveland at their very best. All right, who wins? And I think the answer to that. So it's going to take somebody from Golden State not stepping up, or some aspect of their game, in essence, not coming through the way that it did kind of tonight. And then you see, okay, can Cleveland continue to play at the same level that they did in Game 4?
All right, Shaw. Finally, I want to talk about this Draymond Green and Zaza Pachulia. It's my sentiment that Zaza Pachulia, like, it's my sentiment that if the Golden State Warriors win this NBA title, if they win this, they should go down as the greatest basketball team ever, because they will be the only basketball team that literally plays with 4 people on the basketball court. Because I have no idea why Zaza Pachulia is on that court, bro, except to try to knee people in the nuts. Like, I just don't understand this dude. Like, he gives them, he virtually almost gives them nothing, bro. Like, I sometimes forget that they actually have him on the basketball court, and it amazes me. But what's frightening is that Draymond Green is not too far behind with his absence of his play. I don't know if it's just mentally he's putting too much on himself or whatever, bro. But this Warriors front court, man, they have got to get it together. Kevin Durant is making this Warriors front court look good, but they cannot continue to play the way that they've been playing, like, and think that they're going to walk away with this victory and not give the Cleveland Cavaliers a semblance of a chance or opportunity to continue to be in this series. They really need to step up and play this game the way that they have been playing all regular season, as if they are part of an intricate piece to why we talk about how this Warriors team is such a great basketball team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to give too much to Zaza. I mean, he's not supposed to be an impact player. He's a spot starter, and it's just, he's out there. He'll get his couple minutes first and third quarters, and that's pretty much all you're going to see of him. They run him out there for the size, and then he goes and takes the seat. So that's a position that they'll probably try to upgrade at some point, with whatever next veteran wants to come there for a veteran minimum at the center position. Cool deal. But it is interesting. We've talked about Draymond throughout the series. And, like, oh, well, last game, like, all of a sudden he still had, 7, 8 rebounds and 7, 6 assists or whatever it is. And tonight he had 16 and 14 with only 3 assists. But it did seem a little bit more hollow than it is. Like, his impact on the game was not really felt. He had a couple of nice defensive possessions. I remember one specifically in the corner on J.R. Smith and made him, chuck a 3 that ended up resulting in a shot clock violation or whatever. But it doesn't seem to be the same level of impact that he had coming into the finals, and in the first 3 series before they got to the NBA Finals versus Cleveland. And that is of some concern. And he dodged multiple bullets tonight, man. He was like Neo in the Matrix, because the referees could have and should have teed him up multiple times for some of the things that he was involved in. And then other times, he was just involved in the play, and just because of his reputation, they were making some calls on him. But he really did get away with some stuff tonight. I was very kind of confused at the officiating with him specifically, but he's put himself in this situation. And how he bounces back now in Game 5, after they let this, well, I say they let this one get away because they got routed, altogether. But you'd want to make sure that he comes back in Game 5 and has a Draymond type game where, he's almost at that triple-double it is, wherever it's 12, 10, and 8 or something like that, and he's shooting efficiently and not getting into foul trouble.
Cavaliers hold the Warriors to 44% shooting and only 28% from the 3 land. in the 137-116 victory. You know, Shaw, you bring up an excellent point, and I think the thing that I'm going to be looking at is the way that Draymond Green is looking to contribute from an offensive perspective. I just throughout this game, man, I've just noticed way too many times where he'll dribble down to just below, like in the paint, and he'll throw up some really awkward looking shots. The 3-point shots that he was taking tonight looks like he hadn't, he didn't have his legs underneath him, right? And just his 3 balls were just short. And I'm just saying that if you are the Golden State Warriors and you are going to make the argument that the reason why you didn't win this championship last year was because Draymond got suspended in Game 5, then I'm waiting to figure out what part of Draymond Green's presence and significance, because we saw that in Game 7 last year. And in this NBA Finals, he really has not produced anything similar to what he did in that Game 7. And I'm not even talking about that from a scoring perspective, like he has to score 30-something. But he's not instilling any fear in the Cleveland Cavaliers defensively. They got to be honest on him. You know what I mean? Like, and that to me is the part that I feel like is diminishing what he serves on the court for them. He needs to be balanced. And I think it's also affecting the way that he plays defensively as well, too. He's not bodying guys the way that he was bodying guys in the regular season. And that concerns me. If you're expecting him to be the stat stuffer that he is, he's got to be able to contribute ways effectively. And just some of the things that he's been doing through the course of a game has just not been consistent with what the stat sheets represent.
Yeah, right. Like you said, like the numbers may be a little bit hollow to some degree. And you bring up a point that maybe there's some validity to, and if you were to delve into it a little bit deeper in terms of the fact that Cleveland is daring him to shoot. They're daring him and Iguodala to beat them, in a lot of instances. And although KD and Steph were amazing the first 3 games of the series, really, and then didn't really show up tonight, you just wonder throughout this series, has that gotten kind of into Draymond's head where it's like, okay, he knows there's a certain level of pressure on him, to make these open shots. And then is it affecting him defensively? And for the most part, you want to give him the benefit of the doubt and saying, well, no, that's not it. He's a tough competitor. He's tough mentally and things of that nature. But you know what? With the angst and the added pressure of this series, him feeling like he cost him the series by being ejected last year and then him losing and blowing the 3-1 lead and all that, there might be some interworkings. And again, this is all speculative. We don't know what's going on in Draymond's head, but it could be something there too where it's okay, hey, you know what? I know they're going to leave me wide open. I feel all this extra pressure to make these shots, and it's kind of having a trickle-down effect in some of the rest of his game.
All right, well, we'll see how this all plays itself out. Monday night, Golden State, Cleveland, Game 5. Warriors up 3-1. How do you see this thing playing out? How do you see this playing out, Shaw?
Cavs in 7. No, I'm going to go ahead and say Golden State is very gentlemanly and gets that gentleman sweep in Game 5. You can ask me every show after this. I'll say Golden State, Golden State, Golden State. I don't see how this happens again. I think this was lightning in a bottle for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and kudos to them. And this is like where we can go back to the Bleacher Report, a meme, or if you will, or a parody of the Boston Celtics. Hey, we didn't get swept. I think that's where Cleveland's at right now, and they're prideful.
So you're talking about Cleveland's raising the banner, right?
Yeah, raising the banner. Hey, we didn't get swept. 4-1. And because even Kyrie post game was like, oh, they were talking tough, saying that they wanted to do it on our home floor as some kind of retribution to kind of rub it in their face for blowing the lead last year, et cetera, et cetera. Cool, you had your last stand, but you're still that old dog, man. Get ready to be taken out behind the barn. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh my goodness, man. Well, for all you old yellers out there, don't be near my man Shaw after Game 5.
Hey, if it's not a blowout in Game 5, I really would be somewhat surprised. I think it'll be, they'll spar, they'll throw some jabs, but in that second half, probably in that third quarter, Golden State is like, yo, enough. We sense blood, the blood's in the water. Let's go ahead and get this done. What you got though, man? Who you think you taking it in Game 5 on Monday night, bro?
Well, I do think that the Golden State Warriors win Game 5. I don't know if I'm as confident about the blowout aspect of things as I'm more so just looking at the way that the Warriors might gather themselves and just go on those impressive runs. I think that it's just going to be indicative of how this team can look unstoppable. And when they just start making shots, they just start making shots. Um, it's going to be a high scoring affair again, no doubt. Again, I'm going to be looking to see how they're going to be calling this basketball game, and I'm going to see if whether or not Draymond Green's going to keep his, keep himself in check. If he shows early signs of him allowing the referees to dictate the way that he plays the game, I think the Warriors are going to be in trouble. But if anything, this needs to be Kevin Durant and Steph Curry's time. I know Klay Thompson has looked pretty good, over the last couple of games, up until this one. Basically, his defense has been great. But this is what you wanted if you're the Golden State Warriors. You want Steph Curry and Kevin Durant to basically put their mark on being that dynamic duo of team, that plays in the NBA Finals like LeBron and Steph and Kyrie Irving is. This needs to be Curry, Durant, and I think that they're going to put that on display come Game 5.
Yeah, and I don't see why they wouldn't. I really don't. So, they've been able to win despite not having certain aspects of their game be at a top level, and they had won the first 3 games pretty convincingly. Well, obviously not the third one convincingly, but then they ran away with it at the end. And again, without them playing perfect basketball, and that is to me, there's just the juxtaposition that Cleveland finds themselves in. They have to be perfect all the times, where Cleveland can just, or Golden State rather, can just ho hum. All right, now let's turn it on right now. Play 4 or 5 minute stretch and then win the game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let's be honest. We always do that. What do you put your money in? Where do you push your chips? Into table for? Are you pushing it on the Golden State Warriors offense, their defense, or the Cleveland Cavaliers offense or defense? And when I look at this and how this has been played out through the course of the 4 games, it just comes down to the defense. And I'm more confident about the Golden State Warriors playing better defense than what they played tonight, which will be the difference in whether or not the Cleveland Cavaliers will or will not be able to win any game in this series. And so this to me is another case of I have still more confidence that the Warriors will play the type of defense necessary to win this game than I am looking at how great the Cavaliers can play offensively, because you cannot tell me that they're going to be able to sustain this for 4 games straight. It's just there's no way I can see that happening. And if you're Steve Kerr and you're the Golden State Warriors, you're going to make adjustments. And that's what the Golden State Warriors have done at some case in point through the course, of this series. They had made the adjustments, and defensively they've done what was necessary to get the stops that they need to give themselves opportunities to either make runs or to win games. And that to me is going to be the end result. All right. So once again, Monday night, Game 5, gentlemen sweep, or another game to watch? That's going to be the question. Cleveland Cavaliers, though, they decide to extend this series one more time, 137-116. For the baseline, Cali, Warren Shaw, we will catch up with you guys Monday night, and we will be feeling all right. I hope you will too. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch up with you next time.